Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tillman School of Business Social Media and to our interview series, Meet the TSB Professors. On this show, we will meet up with some of the Tillman School of Business professors and ask them a series of questions that will let you know them a little better. Today, we have Dr. Joseph Long with us. Good morning, Dr. Long.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. For how long have you been at the school, and what classes can students expect to meet you in?
Sure. So I've been at the University of Mount Olive since 2012. I came from the western part of North Carolina at a different college out that way. So I've been here for, this will be a while now. I'm trying to do the math. This will be 8 years, I think, coming on my 9th year. I teach business law and business ethics, which are two required courses in the business curriculum. So you will possibly have me in those courses. And then I also teach an employment law class and a couple of other classes that are outside the business school. I teach an honors course every year in the spring, and then I teach another course every once in a while where we try to travel overseas and see some sporting events. I also teach in the master's program.
All right, that's great. So that brings us to our next question. What would be your number one advice for success, and what is the most common mistakes you see students make in your classes?
So if I could give students advice, it was probably be, don't be like I was when I was your age. Pay just a little bit more attention to the things that the professor has given you to read, to study. I know that sounds cliche, but that really is the key. There's not really a magic formula to getting through school. It just takes time and it takes attention. And so the more that you can spend that time and attention, the better you're going to do. And the other thing is you have the ability to choose what you want to study. So really pay attention to the courses that you're in and the things that you think you're interested in. Find those things and it'll make it easier on you. The biggest mistakes that students make that I see, and I use this if you've had me in class, the first thing I do is that they hang on to friendships that don't do them any academic good. So you might be friends with somebody on your team, or you might be friends with somebody outside of classes, and you let that friendship affect the way that you perform in your class. And so as we grow up and get become people who are wanting to make a career and make money and be successful, we kind of have to get away from the people that are holding us down. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that people are afraid to say, you're a friend outside of class, but in class, I'm going to do my own thing. Right? So find people that are as successful as you want to be and kind of latch on to those people and form that group that helps, I think would be the biggest advice.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Surround yourself with the right kind of people.
Right.
So most of us know that you're a professor who teaches law, but what some may not know is that you worked as a lawyer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I had a brief legal career compared to some of my friends who I was in law school with and are still practicing law, but I came out of law school in 2004, had an opportunity to do what's called a clerkship with a judge, and really learned a lot about how the law works, both outside the courtroom and inside the courtroom. People may not know this, but the courtroom is actually a unique place in the law because not many lawyers actually practice inside the courtroom. So I got to see a lot of trials. I got to do a lot of stuff inside the courtroom and learned a lot about that process and about, one, how stressful it is, but two, also the different dynamics it takes to be good at it. So you have to be prepared. If you've taken my classes, I say you've got to be prepared. That's part one. You've got to practice, and you've got to be able to think on your feet all the time. The other thing that I learned about the law is that it's a lot about the connections you can make and the respect that you gain out there in your profession, but also in the community. So if a lawyer had a good reputation and a lawyer was respected in the community as an attorney, then that carried a lot of weight for them in their career success. The biggest thing that I think I learned from being a lawyer but I was also an undergraduate philosophy major, so maybe this is part of it, is that words matter. The words that you choose to use matter. And if we understand that and understand those words, we're going to be able to connect people better, and we're going to be more effective in our own jobs. And I try to teach business students that the words that they use and the phrases that they choose to use matter a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. So law is to many a fascinating field of work. What kind of student do you think would fit for such a career, and what kind of personality should you have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think people misinterpret what practice in law is, because law is just a general professional area, but there are a lot of different ways that people can practice the law. So we talked about people going into the courtroom and being really strong in front of a judge. We call those litigators. And that takes a certain skill set that other people who practice law might be kind of in the back rooms doing the background work, that don't take that public skill set, that take a pretty significant amount of technical ability when it comes to the law. And I think of one of my friends who's had a great career as a patent attorney, and his skill set is very different from the things that I learned in my brief career where I was actually in the courtroom. So I don't think the personality that someone has is as important as finding that little niche in the law that you really enjoy practicing. There's some really good attorneys that provide advice to entrepreneurs and small businesses, and they hardly ever go into the courtroom, but those small businesses and entrepreneurs really appreciate, respect, and depend on that lawyer's advice, even though they wouldn't be a good courtroom lawyer. But a good courtroom lawyer would give advice to an entrepreneur or a small business that may actually not be helpful. So I would say the personality doesn't matter as much as you finding that area of the law that you really enjoy and that you really kind of latch onto. So some people really like the criminal side of law, and working in the criminal system. You can be a prosecutor, you can be a public defender. And then on the far end of that, right, some people, it's a very different type of practice of law, but some people like that contract business negotiation side of law a little bit better. So I don't think it's a personality thing as much as it is finding that type of law that you enjoy and want to do. Any personality can work. You just have to find whether you like it or not.
All right, that's really great information. So the last question, why UMO? What is the best part of University of Mount Olive?
For a small school, I think one of the things that I really enjoy is the diversity of the student body. I think if students come here and want to, they can meet people from all over the world and really make some friendships and expand who they know and what they know about the world. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of having a small community, but having a pretty strong, diverse community. I think that is really special, and I've been trying to say that's one of the characteristics that I think UMO needs to keep. It's unique, or it's similar to the school that I went to, which was pretty much like UMO. So I think that small community makes a huge difference in having that ability. We have to, you kind of have to step out of your comfort zone, right, to get to know those people. But I do think we have that. The other thing that I think is really unique about UMO is the idea that we can bring in all those people, and for the most part, the campus gets along with everybody. I mean, we might have disagreements, but we're in one of the most heated political and social and cultural times that I can remember in the United States, and the campus is disagreeing but getting along. So I think we're doing it the right way, where we do have some of these hard discussions and have these hard conversations, but then everybody has a certain amount of civility on campus that is really strong, and I do appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I can only really agree. It's a great campus and a lot of diversity, but it works really well. So that was the last question and concludes our interview. So we'd like to say thank you for taking your time and being with us this morning.
Hey, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.